Let me preface this video by stating that the Dragon Ball franchise is easily my favorite entertainment franchise of all time. I've been watching clips and bits of the show since I was 3 years old, with games, movies, merchandise, and the show itself mesmerizing me even until this day. Even the run of Dragon Ball Super starting in 2015 made me itching for more content every week. But I've thought about the series recently, more critically for what it is, and despite the fact that it pains me to think about the series in such a light, the series overall narrative and what drives it forward in the end has truly fallen off and is really not as great as it once was. There's a few different factors that go into the reason why I believe that the story of the Dragon Ball franchise has been going downhill in the last decade or so. Firstly, we'll start out with stakes and tension. During the runtime of Dragon Ball Z, within every arc, either it be minor or be major, there was a sense of tension and stakes established through it all. Think about the Frieza arc in Z. The horrifying actions of Frieza was so interesting to see played out, and the image of him that was gradually built up during the entire arc until the Z heroes finally interacted with him made him a truly dreadful villain. The story was able to establish Frieza as someone purely evil, where the stakes of the story meant life and death for all that were involved within the drama. The thrilling wait for Goku every single episode to arrive at Namek, to the Z fighters being defeated by Frieza, and the introduction of several forms, all of which increased tension felt by all the characters. The stakes and tension within the actual action parts of the narrative is what gave the narrative an interesting sense of balance. Every battle, every moment, and every encounter truly mattered for the lives of the characters within the story. The death of Vegeta and Krillin established that the world of Dragon Ball was not safe from the intricacies of death that plagued every other entertainment series. There was real stakes, and the characters within the narrative acted accordingly, with much caution and pacing being done between their actions that portrayed them as calculated warriors and people. This is a complete contrast to what is occurring in Super. The idea of the Tournament of Power, where every single universe is wiped out, is a scary one for sure, and there should have been obvious stakes within the plot, but there's never that same sense of dread that is felt in earlier arcs in Z and the original Dragon Ball, because it almost feels obvious that someone is going to fuse or someone is going to get a new transformation due to how the rest of Super had been going. I miss the tension within the action that was in Dragon Ball from its very inception, as it truly drove the story, the action, and the characters forward, where now the non-existence of stakes within the story makes it a lot less interesting and unique than what it once was. A good friend of mine pointed this out to me. The transformations that happen in the series following Z are transformations that are, to be honest, meaningless. This one might sound a bit controversial, stating that Ultra Instinct or the God forms have no value, and to be honest, I full-heartedly agree with that approach. I guess it's a bit lazy to compare the series transformations in Super to Z, but I think it goes a long way in relaying how the series has dramatically fallen off in these specific parts of the show. The Super Saiyan 1 transformation in Z against Frieza has to be one of the most intense and built-up transformation sequences I've ever seen. The stakes that had been built with Krillin's death cementing the tension between a losing Goku and a villainous Frieza. The impact of Krillin's death made Goku truly reflect on the consequences of the journey on planet Namek, and as a result of this, his inner rage and nature burst out into him transforming into the legendary Super Saiyan. And it's not just how amazing the transformations were either, but the ground shaking, the weather completely changing, lightning bolts in the background as the eyes of the character transforming into a new form glistened with rage. The moments in Z where anyone transforms is truly mesmerizing and engages the viewer like no other moment in Shonen. In Super, these same transformation periods within the arcs of the characters held no tension within them, so the actual transformation itself falls off in how incredible it is. I won't count the Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue transformation, even though for the Blue transformation, I find it utterly ridiculous that the viewers are expected to just understand that the transformations were done off-world and that there was no inner awakening truly needed to unlock that power. Like seriously, what happened to the training we saw of Vegeta, who truly in all ways hurt himself greatly in his attempt to attain the legendary Super Saiyan? He struggled and struggled, fought through his pride, and unlocked the transformation with all the built-up tension within him. The forms of Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan God Blue have no true pizzazz to them, where even the former should have had some real tension, where the planet's safety was at risk from Beerus. The only transformation that I think had a little bit of stakes and tension associated with it is Ultra Instinct. The way Goku unlocks this form is a lot more in line with how he would have unlocked previous forms in Dragon Ball Z. He would be challenged with an overpowering opponent, but find the willpower and rage in order to unlock a form that could allow him to reach even further beyond, no pun intended. But what's happened by this point in the series is that it's become repetitive in the nature of how the characters unlock new transformations. As my good friend said as well, the series began to suffer suffer from a wide-known shonen problem in Super, where they have to keep raising the tension and power levels, making the characters more and more powerful in order for the story and the narrative to continue. But the problem is that it's hit a very stale formula within the process. There's no unique aspects to how the forms are unlocked, and this repetition of what they did in previous moments within the series has made it less amazing to see a new transformation, of which is a big disappointment, as the transformations are arguably the greatest part of the show to many. The last facet of the aspects that I feel has dropped off in regards to the series plot is the antagonist. The comparison in my head between Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga to Jiren in the Tournament of Power is hysterical. I want you to close your eyes and think about the best villain in Super right now. Who do you think of? Frieza, who returns for the 50th time? Or maybe Goku Black, which is definitely an incredibly unique concept? Or maybe you thought of Jiren himself? Or grab all of those villains that you just thought of from Super and throw them in the bin. None of those antagonists that I named had any proper and interesting character development into what turned them into the villains or antagonistic forces of the story in any way. Goku Black is the only one that comes into this definition, where Zamasu's backstory was just a little interesting, but him taking Goku's body and causing rampage in Future Trunks timeline isn't anything special. Honestly, I feel bad for those that thought they saw what Future Trunks is in Super. Like, here's him from Z, now look at him from Super. You're telling me that these are the same character? The one from Super looks more like past Trunks, if you know what I mean. Anyway, back to the villains. Frieza in Z was an absolutely abnormal force. His murderous tendencies and the backstory of his absolute enslavement of the Saiyan race is one that truly instills the motives and power of Frieza in being a villain. He's an absolute tyrannical dictator, and so the story utilized the strings of this beat within his character, developing him into a power-hungry and absolutely merciless murderer who killed all those that came in his way. You truly felt the evil of his character, and it resonated with me as a kid, and it still does now. The way the villains are built in Z truly makes you fear them, understand what they are capable of, and what I loved about the Z villains is that they never held back. Frieza killed Vegeta and Krillin as he pleased. Cell shot Future Trunks and killed Goku in the blink of an eye. Goddamn, Boo murdered the entire human race in an instant for fun. Then Boo goes on to absorb every single person the Z fighters love, causing a true sense of conflict and tension within the world of the narrative. It felt so impactful. The villains made everything so tense with everything that they did. Now let's contrast this to Super's antagonists. Beerus and Frieza can be thrown into the park, as they were antagonists not much longer than I could drink a glass of water, and even for when they were there, I didn't ever really feel intimidated by them. Goku Black would have felt a bit more intimidating if it wasn't for the fact that he only resided in the Future Trunks timeline. And come on, Future Trunks would have been able to beat them if he just had a little bit more time. And we see this with his rage form, where Goku and Vegeta are out of the battle and he's able to find his inner power and take down the fused Zamasu with ease. But Goku Black as an antagonist isn't really intimidating, and in the moments that he was, such as when he told Goku that he murdered his family in some other timeline, that Goku rage and anger was what I wanted, but that vanishes in just a couple of moments. As for Jiren, I don't think I can say anything that hasn't already been said. I don't think the majority of the fanbase really liked Jiren as an antagonist at all. His backstory was horribly executed. The way that he would only attack Goku enough to disable him for a couple of minutes or episodes is utterly ridiculous, and goes into another thing I don't like about the series at the moment, which is just characters just stalling, letting their opponent get more and more powerful. Jiren doesn't ever feel like a villain, and despite the fact that he's not a traditional one in terms of Dragon Ball, he's still just a failure in terms of being a good character. I haven't read the Moro arc in its entirety, but I heard the villain there does pick up a little bit, and maybe I'll talk about that in a future video. And I heard that the Granola arc wasn't that great, so I don't expect to see a great villain there either. Well, that was quite the tangent. For those that stuck throughout the whole video without punching that dislike button, I give my hat off to you, and I hope you stick around, as I've really been enjoying doing this just under 10-minute analysis of games and shows. If you'd like to see more content in this type of style, consider subbing to the channel for future uploads. And with that out of the way, I hope you all enjoyed your time here, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.